Testament by Rex Thomas Vinson as Vincent King. Originally published in one of John Carnell's anthologies of British authors, New Writings in SF 13 in 1968, and republished in another anthology in the same series, New Writings in SF 9 in 1972. Read by Darrell T. Smith II for my channel, Quasar Spectra. Testament. That planet, the one in question, Rim Sector 3M21670/ZX, was special. You've got to understand that. It was the last, for one thing, the last one of all, the ultimate, the most remote planet-bearing system in the galaxy. It was the last that Exploration Corps got to, the last to be explored, the final confirmation of our loneliness, or the last hope of finding. That is understood. We prefer not to think of that. Get down to facts. Explain yourself. Explain your actions and the events leading to this tribunal. I was alone. I was detached from the ship itself, in a unipersonal cruiser, fully equipped, of course, investigating the last insignificant one-planet system, 3M21670, while the ship operated in the planet-rich systems of Rim Sector ZY. Spare us this stale news, the obvious. We know all this. Proceed to events which are of significance. The robotics were completing their analysis of oceanic conditions and of the high rock masses. As usual, there had been nothing. The usual complex giant molecules. The mineral soup frozen in its existence, just that one step short of life. Of course, I didn't expect anything. Nobody did. It was the end of the line. It was depressing, this culmination, this inevitable end of millennia of crushing disappointment. It was the end of our tour. This was the last planet. Then, incredibly, a robotic probe reported formations of interest in the central highlands of the large continental rock mass. I decided the report merited personal investigation. I took a day suit. Day suit? How far were these formations from your cruiser center? 1/3 of a day by power day suit. Leaving 1/3 of a day for investigation? I did not seriously expect real evidence of interest. Time was also short. There was little provision or room left. Robotics have mistakenly reported intelligent structures of interest many times before. Nil response. Carry on. Will you accept direct recourse to my record? Is it true version? Is it accurate and total recall of your sensations, perceptions, and all relevant thought trials? Yes, I certify it is direct transmission to my cruiser bank tracks and also to the main banks on the ship proper from all my sensory and mental structures. Carry on. Thank you. Record proceeds. I leave, then, this dome. It is still night. Soon it will be morning and a little warmer. There are many stars yet. I formulate. Far, far. Remote. Remote. The ultimate edge of matter, the very rim, the outermost shivering leaf on the outermost twig of the ultimate tree of the forest galaxy. I am here. Behind me, the dense, lighted, seething cornucopia of the galaxy spilled and towering. The whole jewel case spilled and sterile behind me. Ahead are the depths, the merciless nothing of intergalactic space. We are here. No one else. Only us. I am here at the ultimate, the furthest intelligence, the only being. Our race and our race only. Only us in all the myriad emptiness that is the galaxy. We are the galaxy. Only we and our machines live and breathe, function and understand within this great empty crown. To the front, over the dark mass of my destination highlands, fewer stars shine. No, they are not stars. They are beyond the depths, other galaxies. Infinity away. Too far to breathe of. Too far even for our machines to grasp and pluck down in data. It is even possible that those other places, those galaxies, are long gone, do not exist, not now, that they are light lingering illusions of what once was. Probably we'll never know. We must be truly alone, not only in our own void galaxy, but truly so, alone in all the golden bounty of the cosmos itself. Must we have all this depressing sentiment? When are we to reach the important narrative? Soon. May I continue the record? Nil response. Continue. Thank you. Alone I strode, lonely, the most remote antenna of our lonely race, almost swimming against the heavy pressured atmosphere of this sterile world. Life has never been in this place, on this planet. There has been nothing. That one fabulous chance, those singular alterations, those random hydrogen nuclei, that cosmic chance, all accidental in hot stew seas, the giving to mere matter repeating, reproducing life, heredity, genes, and evolution, evolving, leading onwards, ultimately, as life must, to sentience, and, say, to us, wondrous and wonderful. In the galaxy, in all this near infinite possibility of worlds, in all that chance and permutation of time, there has only been the once that has made all the necessary steps, survived to amount, had time to accrue, to anything, and that was on our world, giving rise to us. If you've quite finished congratulating yourself on your existence, may I ask if this goes on for long? When are we to reach relevancy? Soon, soon. I set course away from the cruiser. As I enter the ragged foothills, I pause, I turn, look back at the silver dome of my cruiser floating a little above the smooth, rounded mud banks of the littoral. I go on. I proceed up the steep, glaciated, striation-marked rock towards the coordinates specified by the robotic probe. There is nothing unusual. I see the usual azoic formations. Aeolian, glacial, and fluvial erosion are much in evidence. The planet is as 1,000 million others. I soar the rolling slopes over crooked rocks, strata ledges, and the granite outcrops. The jagged rock teeth spin away beneath me. Always I'm heading onwards and upwards towards the final saw-toothed ridge that conceals the curious formations the probe has reported. Dawn has come. Full daylight is almost instantaneous. Get on. Why won't you get on? I reach the saw-toothed ridge. I drop over and through into the vast bowl plateau beyond. It is enormous. I am amazed. Crystal formations slip beneath me, ramified, hexagonal with six-sided points, minute and enormous also. Some crazy leaning deep angular crannied caves lead into the piled quartz. Oh, the reticulated silicates, the faceted flashings, sparkle, gold-flecked sometimes, and beautiful. I run over and through the silica reefs, over the bright flags, leap in my soaring powered day suit through the prismatic scattered light, the rainbow neverland, seven-colored, cloud cuckoo tails, lightful and brilliant. Over pyrites beds, 100 subunit blocks, cubes, building and overreaching each other, solidarities among the shifting, multi-lighted prismatic wonderland. Does this go on long? We understand you visualizers serve an important function in Exploration Core by offsetting the cold mechanical analysis of core robotics, and that this record is naturally conditioned by your function. However, we ask again that you get to the point more quickly and cease to abuse our patience. Yes, I check with the cruiser's banks the exact nature of the robotics report. I move swiftly into the plateau bowl. I'm traveling over richly colored mineral deposits of one sort or another. I say to robotics, visual of crystal formations, pyrites, quartz, various silicates, large deposits of lapis lazuli, cinnabar, minium, and others also. I have no evidence of interest artifaction. Pause as robotics search banks, then ships special banks for reference to the materials I have named. The pause is minute, but I have delight and a satisfaction as result. Robotics speak to me. Would wish to deduce artifaction from size of crystal formations, would wish to suggest structures constitute evidence of interest and are in fact a marker. I reflect that robotics are notoriously optimistic where evidence of interest and intelligence are concerned. Robotics wish us no longer to be unique, being envious. They have never forgiven us for creating them, for owing us their existence and intellect. Robotics continue. Please note that the mineral deposits you refer to, i.e., various mercury sulfur compounds, cadmium selenide, cadmium sulfide, barium chromate, uranium oxide, lead antimoniate. I cut robotics short. I reflect robotics have pedantic habit which they should kick. Robotics continue. Would respectfully point out that these deposits are 1. Highly colored, 2. Concentric, 3. In order of visible reflectiveness, running inwards from violets and blues, through reds to oranges and the yellows. Would further point out that the conclusive evidence of intelligence and interest lies in the central structure of this complex. Please further note that your nomenclature for the colored mineral deposits is archaic. I thank the robotics. When is all this to end? Why this levity? When are we to have the facts? I pass over the yellowness deposits the robotics have mentioned. The place is of great beauty. Subtly varied, graded, imperceptible color changes, colors ordered, flowing and merging through the diminished silica and crystal combinations. The robotics have spoiled it all for me, however. I do not formulate. The robotics interrupt me again anyway. They say, "You will doubtless have noted, revered one," I note the robotics are being ironic, "that colornesses are only marginally stable in these conditions. Note also that yellownesses, being particularly reflective on visible frequencies, are very highly visible colors. We would wish to posit that the complex is an object designed to be a marker or beacon, and that the complex is laid down in non-scientific physical non-absolute. That is to say, in a biological organic-centered sublogic, that is to say, as a quasi-logical or art object." I do not understand. I do not admit that. I hear only condescension drip in the robotics communication. I wish robotics had noses to punch as well as cards. They are all contemptuous of visualizer functions, the robotics and the so-called pure intellects of core scientists. I pass opinion that scientific analysis is half-truth for biological intelligences such as ourselves, and that visualizer function has illustrious history in our race, being the only surviving function of the concept, art, i.e., function of total organic understanding. Get to the point. When will you get to the point? Suddenly, ahead of me, at the base of this descending coloredness bowl plateau, I discern lake form, circular, perfect, shining silver. There is a central island, dead central, set on and in the shining silver. There seem domes, spires, architectural forms. Could it be? Could this be the evidence of companionship, the end of the numbing loneliness? Could this be other life, other intelligence? Could it be? I'm amazed. I shake. The robotics monitoring my sensations are triumphant but machine-like, control their exclamations. We should think so too. The robotics say, Lake is pure mercury, semi-fluid in these conditions. Note impossibility of natural free mercury in worlds of this type. Implies regeneration artifact, artificial maintenance. See? I cross lake. The feeling of walking on the spongy semi-fluid is very interesting, euphoric, a sense of power, elation, a godlike competence. I reach the structures. I am forced to acknowledge that they seem to be artifacts. Perfect rounded arches tower and soar far above my head. They are made of the rarer metals and crystals of our galaxy, highly polished, cut sharp and perfect. The place is a potent source of radiations. My day suit protects me from these. Robotics claim to find order and pattern in this. They posit language, communication, code. They are immersed in translation. The place is very beautiful. I cross one of innumerable low walkways into the innermost court. Shining and polished floor, a great shallow dish, accentuating and continuing the whole great bowl of the plateau. I see the floor is of slabs, transparent seeming, slightly wedged in shape to fit into the circular bowl form of the court. I can hardly see the joints, gossamer radii and concentrics, mathematical spiderwebs dipping to the middle. I learn the slabs are not glass, but that their material is analogous to mirror-perfect steel. Above and to the right, a vast tower. A gantry reaches overhead to a point absolutely above the center of the court. I perceive the place is a reflector-type optical telescope. Robotics then suggest the Mercury is a cushion making possible movement and direction of the whole island, and therefore the telescope. Robotics calculate instantly that the present alignment, allowing for relative movements of the systems, would have been at the then position of our sun system some 30 millicycles ago. I congratulate robotics. They're fantastic. Ridiculous and also rather charming. Charming? Endearing in their belief in absolute science. I then posit telescope is in fact a further marker to ensure investigation by us, making sure that we're aware of the maker's interest in us. What can you see through an optical telescope 3/4 of the way across the galaxy? I ask if it matters very much once the relationship and interest are established. Robotics shut up. I am standing, poised at the precise center of the telescope mirror, and so also of the whole complex. All about me is the shining floor, the soaring towers, the high arches. I order final confirmation notification of evidence of real, intelligent interest to the ship captain. This is the first time in the entire history of Exploration Corps that there has been confirmation notification. It is a great moment. I stand in silence to acknowledge this. All about me is the concentricity of the place. The walls and the precious buildings, the mercury lake, the rings of color, from the white shining mercury through the yellows to the reds, the blues and the violets, and so to the rainbow formations of the outer crystal reefs. It is still and it is beautiful. There is a finality, a total inevitability about this place. It is very lonely and very concentric. I begin precise visual record together with extensive formulation. Never mind all that. Get on. Suddenly, I'm surrounded with communication. Images, signs and sounds, portents. Music is in my brain. Understandings and sights flood, surging in my conscious. There is a tidal wave of absolute knowingness. I am made aware of the structure as a trap, not to harm me, but to draw and to hold me to receive this communication. I am made aware of the makers of this place. Their race rules, the solitary kings of an adjacent galaxy. They are not unlike us. They came here partly from curiosity, partly from their emptiness, for companionship. In hope, also, it becomes clear, of help against a certain deep evil invading their galaxy from the dark reaches of the cosmos. They came to our planet and found us in our caves with our sharpened sticks and pointed stones. They recognized then that one day we must reach across the galaxy, and that we would find it empty. On this ultimate fringe, this first and last shore, they left us this structure to attract us, to inform us, and to encourage us. Nostalgia! I feel a sense of a loss that is terrible, separated from these only possible friends by the kilo light cycles and by the eons also. They observed our race in its cave cradles. All the time since is gone, and so, I feel, have they, long gone and remote in memory. I feel the sadness and the loss. I feel the magnitude and the eternity of it all, a feeling of mortality. They put this thing here for us, built and structured on the fringe of this alien galaxy, in memoriam, the ultimate work of their art, the ultimate exposition of them and their understandings. The place performs on for me. I, alone, standing there, it plays it all out for me. Music and forms, illuminated in articulations of light and magnificence. I walk the ocean floors of their experience, sound the depths of their feeling, ascend to the sun uplands of their perceptions. I am grasping the galaxies of their knowledge, exploring the mighty vortex of their history. I float in the experience, bask in the stillness of their love and hope. And, tragically, I must go. I must leave before the great drama is half completed. Oh, the tragedy, the sadness, it hurts, it grieves me. Those soft, pathetic voices calling down the long avenues of time, those voices across the abyss. I have to leave them, leave the long-stored energies to expend themselves on the deserted air. The robotics are receiving nothing. The communications were not geared to them. My weltered sensations mean little to them. A new theory for cosmology, some snippets that might make translight possible, a little interesting biological data, some other things that the robotics are able to glean. But it is the loss, the grief, the sense of my treachery that breaks my heart. One chance given to us, one chance surviving down all the ages, the one and only contact, that loss. Well, get on. Why did you miss this opportunity? I had to go back to the cruiser. There's some things robotics can't do for you. You've got to do your duty, no matter what it costs. You've got to do it yourself. There's no one else can do it for you. Couldn't it have waited? No. I wanted to stay. God, I wanted to stay. I had to go back. I was in danger of violating the rule. You must understand, I couldn't break the rule. I had to do it. Yes, you did right. Make transnote of all data concerning the communication. Proceed. Yes, thank you. The record continues. I return down the slopes to the cruiser. I find I'm weeping. All the way down to the cruiser, I catch telepathic echoes of the great, sad outflow behind me. It grows fainter. I weep. I weep. It is falling. It is dying. All that is left of that proud, unique race, this last communication, this poignant shadow play, this last dusty flower of their glory, and I left it running out, dying unheard, giving way to the long silence. I am in the cruiser dome. I clamber from my suit and perform my duties. I stand in the long gallery. I stare sadly to the distant saw-toothed ridge. There is still some small, dull glow that way. I receive a last snatch of communication, a dying murmur, a long, sad goodbye and well-wishing. That last glow fades. All is coldness and night. I consider going back, but I cannot. I must make the appointed rendezvous with the ship. My provisions are almost exhausted. The tanks are under considerable pressure. The atmosphere is almost exhausted. Refurbishing is more than due. At the ship, it will be the same. This planet was the last. It is the end of the tour. We must return to our home. We will come back to this place, but the distances are great. When we return, the place will be no more. The mercury will form its amalgams and become dull. The great mirror will at last fade. The buildings will fall. It is all finished. Whatever store of energy there was will be exhausted now. It is over. I must return to the appointed rendezvous. I do so. Very moving. Now get to the point. Cut the record. Compress. Tell in your own words now. Very well. I achieved rendezvous with the ship without incident. In direct conversation with the captain, it was decided that it must be as I thought. We could not return to the place. We have of necessity reached the end of this sortie. Regretfully, we decided we must return home. The ship was aligned. We encapsulated and made the first sleep jump of the return journey. Get along. How we wish you'd get along. We roused exactly as was planned, exactly on course. Some 10 cycles later, 1/9 of the journey complete. The crew roused satisfactorily and were able to perform their duties and exercise their functions. The tankage had completed satisfactory compression and cycling. We realigned the ship to avoid the upper quarter antimatter clouds, re-encapsulated, and made a perfect second jump. Cannot you spare us this dull routine? Won't you get on? Compress, compress. The following 7 rousings and jumps were quite normal. Duties and functions were normal. Things were going well. There had only been 3 waking trauma deaths. All continued well until the final encapsulation. All functionings were correct. I must stress that at all times the crew performed their duties well, right up to the end. We were about to re-encapsulate for the last time when disaster struck. At sortie time 1248/5M21865, the forward detector deflector units cut out. The failsafe failed. Repairs were effected automatically by robotics before 1250, but in that period the ship was struck interstellar debris of magnitude 3 to 8. Atmospheric pressure caused the main hull to fracture. The ship was opened from sectors 2 to 67. Because of the size and totality of the opening, there was no explosion as such. The entire contents of the ship were merely spilled into space and moved away, gently expanding on a 3-dimensional arc of almost sphere form. I alone survived, being at that time concerned with minor adjustments in the starboard cruiser. As the expansion of the outflow continued, the main power unit exploded. The cruiser survived the blast, being by that time in the outermost effect ring. Also, although at the time I did not realize it, the ship's main tank survived. You realize that Class B violation of the rule was so constituted? Yes. What measure did you take to correct the inadvertency? May I use direct recourse to my record? Proceed. Thank you. Record continues. Panic! Panic! Hell! Oh, damnation! The crash! The rending metal, the splintering fabric, the jarring wrenches, the brief roar of escaping atmosphere, the icy hands of death in space, the running, the fumbling, stiffening hands. Will the membrane hold? The fragments of deadly meteor ice, tearing and shattering bullets, skittering on the milled floors, once shining, now clouded with frozen atmosphere. I see the cruiser lock slam shut. I hear the dying of my comrades in my loudspeakers. Robotics have shut my cruiser's lock. Now they blast the cruiser away from the ship. We escape. I survive. Alone, I survive. I see corpses in space, bloated, blackened already by the deadly cold, exploded. I see the contents of the ship ravaged and spilled in the eternal emptiness. I see all this by the red glare of the cruiser's rockets. Oh, the frozen atmosphere, skeined in the void, frozen crystals scattered. We are further and further from the slow expanding wreckage. It becomes less horrible, detached with distance. I fire flares back to the expanding flotsam. Nothing moves. Nothing lives. I speak to robotics. Can we return? Perhaps someone lives. Robotics say no, that there is great danger. The engines explode. Violet fireball. Bright, killing bright. Spreading, expanding, enveloping the wreckage. A perfect sphere, a perfect sterilization. Searing heat, the death of all. The static subsides. The fireball collapses on itself. The light goes. It dies. Then the robotics see it, far out beyond the explosion with their radars and their electronic senses. The tank! The ship's main tank, almost intact, spinning, receding from us, escaping, leaking slightly as it goes spinning into the gravity maw of the nearest system. The rule! The rule! I think of the rule. I order instant pursuit. The cruiser leaps and surges after the spinning tank. We must turn. We must turn from the pursuit. We must avoid the charred and still molten debris and heat field from the explosion. We turn. We must. I see that. Robotics insist. We plunge through the fringe of the explosion field. There is damage. I sustain injury. 70 million units. 70 million units ahead, beyond the effectiveness of our armament. Too far. Too fast. The tank accelerates from us, still gaining speed, faster and faster as it nears the sun system that attracts it. The rule! The rule! Oh, the rule! The rule is broken. I see the tank enter the atmosphere of the seventh planet, plunge into that impenetrable cloud. The robotics report it crashing onto the thick seas, plowing into the coastal mudflats. We gather the scattered cess tank contents from empty space, a long and unpleasant job, the clinging sludge of the thawing, recycling organisms. The robotics work urgently, side by side with me. Then we can stay no longer. The cruiser's damage becomes worse. My injuries are severe. I'm hurt. Agony. Agony. I limp to the encapsulation couch. The robotics wrap me in. Consciousness fades. I pass into sleep. The robotics will guide me home. That completes your informations? Yes. We have further documents of relevancy in this case. We have not been inactive during your hospitalization. We have investigated this minor system your ruptured tank contaminated. Listen to this record. Small. A minor system. Class 5 Sun. Usual hydrogen-helium-carbon cycle. Ridiculously minute planets. Ridiculously short orbit time. Encircling that dwarf sun. We plot that the tank must have crashed in the northern temperate regions of the seventh planet. We realize with shock that the tank and contents must have constituted 0.01 of the mass of the planet itself. The 8th, 6th, and 5th planets have also received a liberal sprinkling of tank contents. We search for the main body of the tank. Oh, the long, fruitless search of those desperate, water-laden, foggy mud flats, the oppressive heat, the crushing carbon dioxide atmosphere, the absence of health-giving sun, the pearly light of the heat stream fog. Robotics speak. Other gases present also, in addition to large quantities of nitrogen, steam, and carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, and various cyanic compounds. Sea analysis shows carbon dioxide, ammonia, sulfuretted hydrogen, iron salts, and so on. Atmospheric pressure is tolerable. We find at last the wrecked shards of the tank, forlorn in the half-light, ragged fingers poking and slowly rusting from the slime of the warm shallows. Rust? Robotics report oxygen present in minimal quantities in the immediate region of the wreck. Oh, the rule. The rule! Have we broken the rule? Have we generated life on this barren rock of a planet? Have the masses of organic material, the bacteria, the protozoa, the activated sludge of our tank, the blue-green algae, the fungi, the bacteria, the plants and creatures of cess tank recycling system, the unique oxyribonucleic and ribonucleic acids dropped ready-made into the mineral stews, have they provided that spark? Have we made biopoiesis where none should be? Have we broken the rule? Have we usurped the function of God and cosmic chance? Oh, the obscenity, the presumption, the sin. Or can we hope life already was? That life had generated itself? That the long, stony evolutionary path to sentience was already taken? Can we hope that? God, what shall we do in our uncertainty? Appendix. Judiciary's conclusion. 1. The possibility of the rule not having been broken may not be ignored. However, even if biopoiesis had already taken place naturally within the period of 5,000 cycles since the first exploration core survey, which found the planet sterile and unpromising, it must be acknowledged that the addition of 0.01 planet mass of biological material, 65% excrement, reduced and unreduced, 35% living matter, i.e. recycling and reducing organisms, must have provided a considerable impetus to indigenous life. However, we consider it most likely that the rule has been broken, and life has unnaturally been generated. We express our horror at the moral implications of this. 2. Morally, our ultimate course of action is quite clear and inevitable. This spurious life, engendered by sin, however unwitting, this wicked life, this work of the powers of evil, this unthinkable obscenity must be wiped out. We must extirpate it. We must undo the evil and make all right again. 3. However, in response to urgent requests and eloquent argument from core biological wing and in the interests of scientific investigation, discovery, and truth, and considering the relative proximity of the system in question, we need be in no hurry in this matter, we have decided that the lawful moral duty of exterminating this life will not be undertaken until the full development of this artificial evolution has been studied. The core, therefore, will observe the development of life on this planet until sentience emerges, if indeed it ever does from such unpromising beginnings. 4. This unpleasant duty will be undertaken exclusively by core personnel. It is hoped that in some measure this will serve as penance in the eyes of God, and in some small measure atone for the obscenity we have committed. 5. It is proposed that intelligent life be allowed to develop on this system until it reaches an equivalent of our paleo-space age, i.e., the development of space travel to a point where it is preparing to leave the system. 6. This point will probably be reached quite early in a comparative timescale with ourselves, since A. the high rotational speed of the planet, coupled with B. its high rate of orbit about its sun, and C. the calculated high evolutionary rate due to the assumed short lifespan and high metabolic rate of a carbon-oxygen water-based life form, would seem to argue an extremely swift development, as may be seen in our own sewage disposal organisms. It is worthy of note that the period of the planet's orbit is equal to 1/12,000th of our own cycle. 7. When the time at last comes to extirpate the false life of this unfortunate planet, no regret or mercy must be countenanced at the extermination of apparently sentient beings. Our remote descendants, some 11,000 Magnus cycles distant, must put fine feeling behind them and cleanse away these monsters forever. Monsters they must undoubtedly be, given the conditions and substance of their genesis. This sacred mission, fulfilled at the end of long ages, will be the final installment of Exploration Corps' penance and atonement. 8. The actions of Officer Donder are acknowledged to be beyond reproach. He acted with initiative and personal courage beyond the call of Corps duty. We wish it noted that in spite of the fact that he has spent fully 4 cycles hospitalized as a result of injuries sustained during his heroic pursuit of the escaped Sestank, comprising the loss of 2 arms and a tertiary brain, of which regeneration is not yet complete, Officer Dare has volunteered to be a member of the first observation team to be based on the unfortunate planet in question. This, in spite of his as yet incomplete recovery and the insalubrious overhot conditions on the surface there. Total suiting is always necessary, the planet being the 7th of 9, i.e., 3rd from the sun. You've been listening to pre-1990s speculative fiction readings with a highlight on science fiction by Darrell T. Smith II. Please consider clicking the donation link in the description box. Thank you so much for your time and your imagination.